What's up, my fellow emo, pop punk, metalcore music lovers? Matrix here, and you were locked into the Matrix Music Review podcast, the only place to get your alt-rock scene music fix and the best place to discover your new favorite band. We are back today catching up on some of the album reviews that I have missed out on recently. We got one more of these episodes left, and then we are all caught up. Thank the Lord that they are all caught up. It has been a mess trying to get all caught up on these for you guys. But I would like to say it has not been a mess listening to these albums because we've had some really strong ones here. As always, the link to everything you need from me is in the description of this episode. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Matrix Music Review. Instagram is where I am the most active. You can find me over there posting new tours, playlist updates, and anything in between. As for the playlist, head on over to Spotify and save the Control-Alt-Save 25 playlist to your library to stay up to date on all the music I'm listening to, music you hear in the podcast, and music that I've just been listening to outside of the podcast. If you're listening on Apple Music or Spotify, leave a 5-star review, leave me a comment, let me know how I'm doing, let me know if there's something you want me to review or that I haven't touched on yet. And make sure you are heading over to YouTube and subscribing to the YouTube channel Matrix Music Review. As soon as I get some more subscribers over there, we'll be able to release some video content, including interviews and other things like that. With that, we're jumping right into our music review, album reviews, with the first one being The Host by Acres. This is Acres' third album that was produced by Landon Tours from The Plot in You. And this is a metalcore album at its core, and it was interesting because Acres opened for The Plot in You on the tour that I got to see earlier this year, and I feel like they were a huge standout. I wouldn't go as far to say as they were the best because Plot really doesn't give you an opportunity to be that on that tour, but they were absolutely the highlight for me of the night, and one of the things that I came out of there thinking was, I can't wait to hear the new record. And this record opens with a track called Bloodlust, which was also the first single, and it's really well done. It doesn't feel overly heavy. It has some different, darker production choices, which feels very much like something that you would hear from The Plot, and very much so what I associate with Landon. And it just kind of feels haunted house-ish. And I know that that's kind of, simple to say, especially with an album cover that is as dark as it is. But that is kind of the feel that I get all throughout this album. Not So Different has some seriously crazy lines in it, whether it's being screamed as plagued by spiteful monotony endlessly, or whether it's being melodically sung as, if I sold my soul, then I don't need anything. These are just kind of the trade-offs that you see when you have this really metalcore-ish vibe of screaming versus melodic singing. And Not So Different does a great job of that. To me, there is absolute hit potential behind a track like Staring at the Sun. I know it was released as a single, and I feel like that's one that has a real chance to be one of the defining tracks of this album era for Acres. And this album is all about emotion, whether it's a little bit heavier or a little bit more internalized. The emotion in this album is very present, and sometimes with metalcore albums, I feel like emotion can be a little stale, but in this case, there's no chance that that's going to happen. Empty Room is a perfect example of that. You get the vocal delivery, but not super heavy screams. There's just enough power behind it to prove your point. And I love that an album that's as tight and as compact as this, in like 7 or 8 tracks, ends with a track like Around Again, which is a little bit slower. It slows it down and shows the range of this band and the range of the vocals that we have from Acres. And so overall, this album was super solid. This falls in the 9.2 out of 10 range for me. And the comparison that I want to draw here is that I can see an Architects-like rise for Acres. I see them as being that next band like Architects, which is going to be headlining those middle-of-the-ground size venues for years and years to come, and also opening for the massive bands in the scene because everybody knows the type of talent that they have, and the influence that they're going to have is going to be spectacular. So if you haven't heard it yet, go check out The Host by Acres. Next up, we got Afterglow by Sleep Theory. This is technically Sleep Theory's debut album following up their EP in 2023. Sleep Theory is a metalcore band, and this album absolutely blew me away because they start off with Static. Static is one of the more recent singles. Static has been flying up the Spotify charts. It's been on Octane. And it's something that really demonstrates the variety that this band can give, and the variety that Cullen's vocals can really be stretched to. You know, Cullen can stretch his voice with some screams. He can stretch it with serious, smooth, melodic singing. And I knew that his vocals were going to be something that really catapulted this band into the limelight and into superstardom back in 2023 when I heard Another Way. I knew that that was going to be a band that's going to be literally sticking around for a long time. And I think the one thing that Sleep Theory did really well with this album was generate such a hype from singles that it was hard not to be excited about when you knew this album was coming out. We had Stuck in My Head, 3, Static, Numb, and they also did a really good job of not putting all of those tracks back to back to back to back and scattered them all throughout this album. If you're a casual listener and you go into an album and you're like, okay, you know, maybe I just have to get through 1 or 2 tracks and then I get all of the singles in a row, so I'll at least listen to them. Sleep Theory says, fine, we'll let you do that, but you're going to have to listen to 1 song first, then you'll get 1 single, then you're going to get another 2 tracks that you haven't heard, and then we'll get you back to the song that you've heard, and then we'll sprinkle it all in. I think that's fantastic. This band is absolutely expert at catchy hooks and choruses and giving a listener an earworm, whether that's Stuck in My Head or Gravity. You know, Gravity is one that has been stuck in my head since I heard it. And it's very simple. It's, I could be the gravity that brings the ground to you. Not necessarily something that I've heard a ton before, but it's something with the right tempo and with the right sound and the right delivery has been stuck in my head forever. And Gravity is one that I'm going to sit here and say that I would absolutely love to hear an acoustic version of that track. I know that Sleep Theory does a lot of acoustic stuff, so Gravity is my vote to be the next acoustic release. Gravity flows right into the title track, which is a little bit of an emotional track where you think you can learn, but you really just need to be saved. And you can't make it through the storm without them, and how you're caught up in the afterglow of all of us. And the emotion on these slower tracks is evident, and it is all encapsulated into the final track, which is Words Are Worthless. And the theme of this review is emotion and just me being absolutely blown away by this band. And Words Are Worthless is fantastic. The line that starts the chorus is, if I can keep you from falling to pieces, I'd be saving myself in the process. And you're trying to save this person. And by saving that person, you're saving yourself. And the line that says, don't go where I can't follow. And that can mean a lot of different things. You can probably interpret that in whatever way you feel fit. But it is incredible to hear a band have that type of emotion on a debut album. And this Sleep Theory album in particular is one that I have used in reference when I'm talking to friends, because I have a few friends that have said to me, I can't get into listening to albums, or I don't want to listen to albums. And I get that. And albums are a lot, and there are a lot of albums that come out. But an album like this is important to listen to all the way through, because you may find that Gravity is your new favorite track, or Words Are Worthless are your new favorite track. This is not going to be the case with every single album. There is a lot of albums out there that have 4 or 5 good tracks and the rest are all just filler. But that is not the case here with Sleep Theory. Sleep Theory has really asserted their dominance in this space and has asserted that they are going to be one of the next big things in the scene. I cannot say enough about this debut. It is a genre blender. It's one that you can use for people. I see this album being a gateway album for a lot of new people coming into the scene. I think it has that type of potential. For me, this is a 10 out of 10 album. I don't think there's any denying that this is one of the better albums of the year so far. And I can't wait to see what everybody else thinks of it. So let me know what you think of it. Afterglow by Sleep Theory. Next up, we got Resolution, the new EP from Old Neon. This is the follow-up to Maybe This Is All There Is from 2024. It is from the pop-punk band from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and this EP could not be released at a more perfect time, right before summer is hitting, and this EP is ready for summer. Nobody's Burden has the perfect lyrics for a pop-punk summer. You know, my heart won't be where you left it, with or without you by my side. Those types of runs and vocal runs lead us to the perfect pop punk summer track. Same thing in terms of what we get from a track like Better Sun. We get a classic introduction, super, super effective track. And it flows to a track like Baby Blue, which has a super catchy chorus. And Baby Blue is one that stood out to me a little bit more because I feel like this track had super cool guitar riffs all throughout that I really found myself going back to just to listen to the little riffs or the little instrumentation choices that were done here. And that was something that, you know, if you're a music nerd like me, that's probably something that you're going to love. But the track itself is great. And then People Pleaser is one that I vibe with so much because it's all about being a people person and not being able to rise above that kind of label that you have and not being able to kind of fend for yourself in certain aspects. So I definitely am guilty of that. So that song really resonated with me. Overall, this is such a super fun summer EP. I can absolutely see me on the beach in a few weeks listening to this album or this EP. And if you're looking for bands that this is comparable to, think Neck Deep, think The Main, along those lines. And if you like those bands, you're going to absolutely love Old Neon and start here with this new EP. It, for me, is a 4.6 out of 5. It's a fantastic EP. Love what Old Neon is doing. So if you haven't heard it yet, go check out Resolution by Old Neon. Next up, we got Either Way, The Sun's Exploding by True North. This is the second album from the metalcore-ish band. That's the best way I can describe them. They're metalcore-ish. And I had super high hopes with this album because realistically, when I looked at the track listing, I knew that we got about 7 of the 13 tracks that were coming from this album. But True North is a band that at the beginning of last year really kind of burst onto the scene for me with Still Enough, which is still one of my favorite tracks on this record. But it was one that I hadn't really explored a whole lot. I hadn't explored a whole lot of True North. So going back into this album, I was really intrigued to see what it was going to be. Sonically, I was surprised because it does have a lot of a Bring Me the Horizon influence here, at least but under my thought process, and even a little bit vocally of a Dayseeker sound. I feel like there's a Rory Rodriguez comparison to be drawn here. Burn is absolutely one of the better songs on this album. You can really feel the echoey lead in to the chorus, and even the chorus itself is, how do I cut you out of my life? I've already burned you into my mind. And echoey vocals don't always work for me. They don't, and it's got to be the right moment. It's got to be the right feel. And in this case, it works extremely well. And I feel like True North has really found their niche here and have really mastered the mid-tempo, anthemic sounding track, whether it's Save Your Breath or Nightmare or Death Grip. They all kind of fit that mid-tempo, and they sound like they could be an emo metalcore anthem. Somewhere New is a track that, we talk about driving past the road and second chances come and go, and I'm losing you, but I found somewhere new, which is a little bit of a unique way to say that. And when you say losing you found somewhere new, it to me speaks to kind of feeling like there's somewhere new inside of you that you have to go after you lose this person. And whether that's a good place or a bad place is up to you, but losing you is what allowed me to find that somewhere new inside of me. I will say that the track 1026 didn't really work for me, and I don't know if it's just because I felt like it didn't fit in or if it was just I didn't particularly love it. That track just didn't really hit home for me, but it flows into that anthemic sounding track called Death Grip, which is got some great lines in it too. I'm going to keep drowning in the toxins, cut me to the bone, fill me up with chemicals. And this is the track where it really started to click with me that True North is really starting to get a recognizable guitar sound or guitar riffs that are recognizable as True North. Very similar to what we hear with Belmont or the Home Team or when Issues first came out. Those bands all have that very unique sound that when as soon as that lead comes in, it's an Issues track, it's a True North track. That's what I'm talking about with that. And there were some different sounding tracks on this album that did work for me, and a track like Those Were the Days. It's a little bit more electronic in its production choices, almost this like gazy, disco-y sound, but it worked and it fit in with what they were trying to do. So overall, this really was a very solid sophomore album that I would say is perfect for melodic metalcore fans. If you don't love the screaming and you love more of a melodic sound, you're going to really enjoy this album. For me, it was about an 8.4 out of 10. It's one that I'm definitely going to go back to a little bit, but overall, really solid. So let me know what you think. Either way, The Sun's Exploding by True North. And our last album is Chrome Hearts by Cherie Amour. This is the new album from what I consider to be the genre blenders in our scene. Cherie Amour, new album produced by Skylar Accord from Issues, which is an interesting influence that you'll hear all throughout this album. Beyblade starts this off and shows this refusal from Cherie Amour to be kind of encapsulated into one specific genre, and it does it a really, really good job of that. I think Trey's vocals with the heavy guitars behind it, and there's almost this kind of Lil Uzi Vert backbeat behind it, which really is a cool little twist that you wouldn't expect to hear necessarily, and it works so well. There is no denying how infectious and vibey Release Me is. There is no other way to describe that track other than it is a vibe. Release Me will have you up dancing, shaking ass, doing whatever you want to do with that song. And it is a song that reminds me of just having that on, volume turned all the way up, driving through the city at night with the lights going, the bright lights, windows down, cool breeze going, and Release Me is playing on the radio. There's no other way that I can describe that track. And this track does have this album does have some danceable tracks on it, whether it is Release Me or High. And then there's also a really interesting production decision. And I don't know if it was intentional or if it was just maybe something that happened to me. Maybe my headphones were on the fritz or something. But during 1-800-Paranoid, there is a spot at around 52 seconds where the sounds start flipping between headphones. And the line that's being said is, "Driving me crazy, call my name." And as it's flipping between my headphones, it basically has me paranoid. Like, are my headphones breaking? Is there something wrong with my AirPods? What's going on here? And I only noticed it when I had headphones in, so I'll be interested to see if this was an actual choice or if this was just something maybe that happened to me. I don't know. But this album was so much fun. I think for me, it's about an 8.3 out of 10. I think it's one that, I wasn't a huge fan of Reefer, but I think it's still, an album worth checking out, even if there's one track that I didn't love. I think that's something that's going to happen from time to time. So, Cherie Amour's new album, go check it out if you haven't yet. Chrome Hearts by Cherie Amour. That wraps it up for us here on the Matrix Music Review podcast, but I have one last thing I want to talk about real quick, and that is I was able to go to a show last week, or a few weeks ago at this point, and it was the Ghost Skeletour, or Skeletour, I guess I should say. And the unique thing about this tour was that Ghost was not allowing phone use during the performance. You have to walk in and get your phone put in a bag that is magnetized, and once you're done, then you can get it unmagnetized and get your phone back. So basically what happens is you check into the arena, they scan your tickets, they give you actual ticket stubs now, and you walk right in the front, they see that you have a phone, you get this Yonder pouch, and the Yonder pouch is snapped together. You cannot unsnap it yourself. You have to go to someone to unlock it. And basically, the phone stays in your possession the entire night, but you are unable to use your phone during the performance. I was not sure how this was going to go. I was not sure how this was going to be, but to be completely honest, I kind of enjoyed it. It was nice to not have people with phones up the entire performance, or even me have my phone out, whether it's, I'm trying to record something just to be able to post on the Instagram story or something along those lines. It was nice to be able to be fully immersed in the music and fully immersed in the performance. And I think I can definitely see more bands taking this approach. If you have concerns about did it take longer to get into the venue, maybe an extra 2 or 3 minutes, but it really wasn't that bad. I think what really held it up was the fact that they decided to put the merch table very close to the entrance, and that's on them. That's just a stupid decision to put the merch table near where people are entering in. It's never going to work well. So I think once that gets kind of figured out, I think this was a really good decision, and I think it's something that artists will really look at and say, hey, I want people to pay attention during my show. As for the performance itself, Ghost is fantastic. I know that they get some flack in the scene for being a little out there, but if you just want to go see good musicians and good performances, Ghost is the best place to go do that. I think you'll get the best of all the worlds if you go check out that performance. That wraps it up for us here on Matrix Music Review Podcast. I hope you all enjoyed. As I say all the time, please make sure you're liking, subscribing the podcast, following along on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and following me over there to stay up to date on all the latest happenings. Make sure that you are adding the playlist to your library on Spotify, all of the fun things. And as always, make sure you're subscribing on YouTube so I can get some more video content out for you guys. So with that, I will end the podcast. I will see you guys next time with more reviews, more content, and introducing you to your new favorite band. See you guys next time.